Hello witches, wizards, and those who are yet to receive their Hogwarts school letters, welcome to my Harry Potter kitchen. This is the YouTube series where I'm baking my way through the Harry Potter books, making recipes for all the food and drink we find inside. If you missed last week's recipe where we made a cheesy lightning bolt pull apart bread, then make sure you check out the link down below in the description to catch up. And if you're new to the kitchen and you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell and you'll get an alert every Magic Monday when there's a brand new recipe. Speaking of which, let's head back into the chamber and see what's next. Now, after our first 9 recipes that we found in chapter 1, we have finally finished it, so it's time to move on to chapter 2, which is Dobby's warning. Now, Harry has gone back to his room and found an elf just sitting on his bed. Obviously, he introduces himself and he meets Dobby. And there's an awesome illustration of Dobby in the book there. And Dobby is quite surprised by how nice Harry is being, so obviously he hasn't met too many good witches and wizards. Although the situation does get a little bit weird when Dobby says that Harry cannot go back to Hogwarts, and that is where all Harry's friends are from, so he's pretty adamant that he is going to go back. Dobby, being a little bit stubborn, has run out of the room to try and force Harry into saying he won't get back, and if you've read the books before, or you've seen the film, you'll know that beautiful pudding we made a few episodes ago isn't going to be eaten. So that has now smashed on the floor. The Dursleys have come in to see Harry around this smashed pudding, and he's in a little bit of trouble, but I can see our next recipe here. Aunt Petunia was just handing round a box of after dinner mints when a huge barn owl swooped in through the dining room window. Looks like there's still going to be some sweet treats. If you'd like to recreate these lightning bolt after dinner mints, then all of the ingredients and instructions will be on my website, bradleybakes.co.uk. The link is down below in the description. Today we're going to be making after dinner mints inspired by the famous After Eights. Traditionally they are a square chocolate treat with a fondant peppermint inside. So we're going to take those inspirations, but we're going to add a little bit of my Harry Potter kitchen magic and make our after dinner mints lightning bolt shapes. This is going to require a little bit of chocolate wizardry, but I'll walk you through step by step. As you can see, I've got 2 stacks of dark chocolate here, so we're gonna do a half temper. Now, if you were following the series back in the Philosopher's Stone, where we made chocolate frogs, I showed you how to do a full temper, a half temper, and how to just melt your chocolate quickly. Now, this is a really nice happy medium, because it means you still get a lovely shiny finish and that good chocolate snap, but it doesn't take as long. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna melt 1/2 of our chocolate in a bowl over simmering water, and then we're gonna add in the remaining chocolate to that once it's all melted and off the stove, and that is gonna help it cool down nice and gently, and it's effectively gonna temper it for us, just like magic. To begin, you want to chop your chocolate into nice small pieces. Once it's nicely chopped, pour into your bowl. The steam from underneath will begin to melt your chocolate, so give it a few minutes and then stir through and carry on until it's nice and smooth. While it's melting, you can chop up the rest of your chocolate. Once it's completely melted, remove from the heat. Slowly add in your remaining chocolate a bit at a time, stirring through until completely melted, and then continue with the rest of your chocolate. Keep on working it round as you go, and you'll notice the colour go shinier and the consistency become more pipeable. So once your chocolate is nicely tempered and ready to go, it's time to move on to our first layer of chocolate. Now for this, I've actually made a little stencil on some baking paper. So I took my lightning bolt stencil, flipped it the other way around and drew along the baking paper and then flipped it over just so we don't get any ink on our chocolate. And then this is gonna be the template which we're gonna pipe the chocolate on to get that lightning bolt shape. Cut the end of your piping bag and then place a writing nozzle in. Fill this with about half of your chocolate and then pipe all over your stencil. I found it easiest to go around the outside first and then fill the center. Once you've got all your shiny chocolate lightning bolts, this needs to go into the fridge until it's set, which will take about 10 to 15 minutes. While the chocolate is setting, we can move on to making our peppermint fondant filling, and this is really simple. It's just a form of icing. So we're gonna make sure it's nice and stiff, and then we're gonna pipe it on top of our chocolate lightning bolt and make sure it holds its shape in the middle before we give it one final chocolate layer. Place your icing sugar into a large bowl. Make a well in the middle and then pour in your milk. Next, add your peppermint extract in, and then begin to stir through. You want to get it to the consistency of a really thick royal icing, so keep on adding more milk or icing sugar until you get there. The mixture will be too thick to use a writing tip, so just place it straight into your piping bag and then you can snip off the end before it's ready to use. So once your first chocolate layer has set, it's time to pipe our filling in. So we're gonna snip the end off of our piping bag and then pipe into the middle of each lightning bolt. Now it's important that you leave a thin border around the outside, as this is where the top layer of our chocolate is gonna create a nice seal. Applying an even pressure, but being careful not to pop your piping bag, pipe lightning bolt fondant on top of your chocolate. Use the same technique, so go around the border first and then fill in the middle. Once you're happy with your peppermint filling, these need to go back into the fridge to set up so that icing has a chance to go nice and firm before our final layer. And if you're in a little bit of a rush for time and you need a little magic trick, pop them into the freezer instead for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then they should flash freeze so you can add that final layer nice and quick. So our fondant layer has finished firming up, and now it's ready for our final layer of chocolate. Now you'll notice that your tempered chocolate is still nice and melted, but I've got a quick wizard tip for you. If you add in some coconut oil, then that is gonna make it even more pourable so we can get a nice clean finish over the top of our after dinner mints. Add in your coconut oil and then stir through. Transfer into a jug to help you pour. Pour the melted chocolate over your fondant, allowing any excess to run off the sides. Cover all of your chocolates, paying attention to make sure that the fondant is well sealed inside. If you run out of chocolate, you can reuse any that's fallen through the tray. Once you're happy with your final coat, these need to go back into the fridge one final time to firm up that last layer of chocolate, and then they will be complete and you'll have a wonderful snap to your after dinner mints. Once your after dinner mints are set, then they are good to go. So you can transfer them onto your serving dish and then bring them out with some tea and coffee at the end of your meal. They are sure to go down a treat. And if you've never had an after 8 before, let me know down below in the comments and then make sure you give this one a go. That is all for this week's recipe. I hope you want to see more from my Harry Potter kitchen. And if you do, click on that subscribe button and then hit the notification bell and you'll get an alert every Magic Monday when there is a brand new recipe. I'm about to enjoy these after dinner mints, so I'll see you next week. Oh my god, I wish it was always after 8.